All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Skyla Mann, and I am a young living diamond that lives here in central Iowa. And you have found your way to Thursday Night Live. So, congratulations for that. Tonight, I am extremely excited to introduce to you our guest speaker and one of my very best friends, Britta Dimler. Britta and I have been growing our Young Living businesses kind of alongside each other for about the last 5 years. And I can say with complete confidence that if it weren't for the leadership that Britta and Sonia provided initially for our team to kind of get us started, I can assure you that there's no way all of us would be here. This just was a tremendous team effort. Britta has given me a lot of inspiration and has kicked me in the pants on many occasions when I needed it, and really has given me someone to chase. I doubt that I will ever catch Britta, but it's darn fun trying. And I was thinking back to a couple of years ago, or maybe, I don't know, has it been 3 years, Britta, when we actually had a friendly competition between our two teams? And
yes,
that was a while ago, but there was a race for enrollment, and we were each kind of aiming to hit a certain mark, different marks, but whoever lost had to take the other team out for pizza. So you know who paid for that one. But it was so much fun trying, and honestly, that's one of the biggest blessings of this business, you guys. We find the best people to work with, and we get to choose who we work with. So I choose Britta because she's absolutely loyal and faithful. She is probably one of the hardest workers that I've ever met. She sets the standard for traveling to do classes that I think the rest of us could only aspire to. Although I'm going to try next week, Britta. I'm going 3 different directions in 1 week. So I'm going to be chanting you. So anyway, tonight, you guys, really just sit up and take notes and let her pour into you, because this woman has done what all of us want to do, and she's still continuing to lead with the utmost integrity and a lot of heart. I know we've got a lot of developing wellness team members on here tonight, and that's because they love her. And I'm quite sure that they will be chiming in. Feel free to stick around afterwards for those of you that are live, because we will have a Q&A time where, you know, we just get to ask Britta anything and she gets to decide what she answers. Yes, exactly. But Britta, I'm just going to turn this over to you, and I just want to say thank you so much for spending an evening with us here at Thursday Night Live.
well, thank you so much, Skyla. That was like such a nice opening and welcome and edification. I mean, that's just fantastic. And you know, I'm blessed. I truly am blessed to be asked to do this and to have it fit into my schedule too. And you know, I've been blessed incredibly by you, certainly. And it's just right back at you. You know, all those good things that you said about me, I could say the same thing about you. So probably not as well and eloquently. So I just wanted to kind of share some of my story and my business story. I think a lot of at least our local team knows our personal story, but I was actually talking to a couple of my leaders yesterday, and just kind of about our journey. And they said, you know, Britta, you really need to share that to people, because most people that know you now, they think of you that you've always been platinum, and we have certainly not always been platinum or diamond. And even though we've been blessed to be diamond for 3 years already, at the end of this month is our 3 year. So our business story is we joined in 2007, May of 2007. So we just had our 10-year anniversary while we were in Australia, actually, which was quite a blessing. And we joined really because Sonia followed up with us. You know, we went to her first class that she ever did. I was not happy about being there. Kirk wanted to go. He wanted the information. He was seeking some extra information. And we left without, Sonia didn't tell us how to get started back then, even though I was willing to do it initially. But she followed up, I think once or twice. She actually dropped a sample off at our house later, and with some more information, which I read because I was trying to disprove it that it wouldn't work. So we got started with using oils. Kirk's name was only on the account because I said, I will never do this. I will never share. I will never tell anyone about this because this is voodoo, woo-woo, weirdness. I don't want anything to do with it. I wasn't even planning on using oils, and I probably never would have had he not taught my children to ask me for oils when they were upset or when they were, had fallen down or whatever. And so that's really why I started using oils and why I started carrying oils, because my children were clumsy. They were very young. So we started having, that summer, we had a couple of experiences that I could no longer dismiss as aromatherapy, that it was aromatherapy results and benefits. And, I just believe that God knew I needed a miracle. I needed to see something big to get my attention, to say, okay, this is way more than aromatherapy and bigger than what I thought. So as a result of those experiences, of course, we shared with people and said, you are not going to believe what just happened, or what we went through or whatever. And what do you do when somebody tells you a story like that? You're like, well, what is that? And how do you get that? And what do you do with it? And that's just really how we started. I give samples, and I have given away probably thousands of drops of samples over the years, because it was never about a sale to me. It wasn't about, what am I getting back in return? But it was really always has been, how can I help you? And what can I do to benefit you? So we just shared stories. In Labor Day of 2007, I remember that weekend standing in church, and we were in our praise and worship time. And I remember looking across our sanctuary at our church, and God spoke to me and said, you need to do a class here. You need to give these people hope. And I said, I did not get into this to do classes, and there is no way I'm going to do a class at my church, because nobody here is going to know that we're using oil. And so it took me about 6 months to do my first class at home. So I was not obedient still, but I did my first class at home with about 6 people. That's my first and only class I've ever done in my home. Okay, out of all the classes I've done, one at home. And then Bobby Shaman had a class that within a couple weeks of that, and it was at a community center, I believe, and she had 50 or 60 people, and I had gone because I knew it was going to be this huge class, and I wanted, and she had a PowerPoint, which was like, oh, a PowerPoint, I don't know I don't know how to do PowerPoints, I don't know anything about this. So I went to find out, what is she doing and how can you talk to 60 people? Holy cow. I couldn't get my mind around it, So we went to that class, and I walked out there going, oh, wow, that's amazing. And I could do that. And the PowerPoints really are helpful. So fast forward a couple more months, I finally talked to my pastor, and I finally, in June of 2008, did a class at our church, and had about 50 or 60 people come, which just was shocking to me that, but I really think about it back then, people were hungry for options, and they still are hungry for the truth, and they want options, and they want, they want to live in health and wellness. And if we don't share that with them, who's going to? So we did our first, our class at our church. And about 2 weeks later, my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. And so my life stopped. It didn't matter. Oils didn't matter, sharing with people. I remember gas was super high then. It was like $4 a gallon, and it didn't matter anymore how much I was paying for gas. And my dryer had gone out, and it didn't matter that I couldn't dry my clothes at home. All that mattered was my daughter. And so, I couldn't think about anything else. I was blessed, though, by our community of oilers, and the community of support we had through this oil business, as well as through my church, that they just rallied around. They supported us so much through that time that, it's totally a God thing. And I just look back and say that was truly a God thing. And so that showed me the power of our community and the power of loving on people and supporting people, just in a very, not about, what are you going to do for me, or how is this going to help my business? Sonia came up and blessed us incredibly at the hospital, and bringing us things and doing research for me. And that was because she was my friend, and she wanted to, she wanted to give us hope and to give us options, which is just exactly what I have always looked at this business as doing. So we did still kind of share every once in a while, but never intentionally. We did enroll a few more people because of using oils as part of our life and of just part of Caden's life to maintain her health while she's going through all of her treatment. I think by fall of 2009, we went to our first convention. It was in Minneapolis. That's the only reason why I went to convention, because it was close. And my girlfriend Danny Phillips and I went up there, and Kim Thomas went with us, and Sonia was there. And it was about, like 300 people who were at convention. It was just this tiny little, kind of a conference, but it was amazing. And we had to stand in line, and we thought it was terrible, we're standing in line for 10 minutes. But, it's so funny because how we learn, and when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? And I remember standing in line back then, and people were talking about Reiki or healing touch or different things, and Danny and I are like, oh, that's that new age stuff, and we're so, because this is what I knew. And as we've been exposed to more things and learned more things about how our body works and how God created us and the energy that we have as natural parts, all of that makes sense. So I'm sharing that part just to say that accept people and support people where they are. Don't try to, bombard them with more information or to convince them that your way is right. Sometimes we just have to love them where they're at and let them grow as they get exposed to new things. So I think I was probably a senior star, maybe executive back then. I think I was probably a senior star though. And we had, we stayed senior stars. So that was about 3 years in, that was 2 years in the fall of 2009. We did start doing classes. Sonia and I would do classes, every couple months or every couple weeks, or maybe once a month I was doing a class and just sharing options. And I remember we hit executive probably in about 2011, I think. So about 3 years in, not purposeful. We did not build for structure. We did not build for really any purpose. They had the comp plan back then was if you got so many people on Essential Rewards on your front level, then you got an extra bonus. And I think it was like a 300, Skylar, maybe you remember this, 300, a 500, and a $2,000 bonus or something like that. And I remember looking at my downline one day. We were driving somewhere, and I could not fathom how I could get that $2,000 bonus. I think the most I ever got was 500. So we just didn't teach that, right? We didn't teach people that this is a lifestyle and how you can get on Essential Rewards and that really is the benefit. It just happened, if you figured that out, you were good, because that's kind of what I did. I just figured it out. So we've come a long ways. I want you to be encouraged by that. So we were stuck at executive for probably about 3 years. And it seems like for some reason in my head, we had like 100 to 120 people probably on our team. And we were running between $8,000 and probably $7,000 to $9,000 back then. And that was executive. Okay. You had to have 2 executives to reach silver at that point. The executive was 5,000 in volume. Okay. So, and I think I had maybe 1 executive, but I didn't really have any builders. So we were just kind of stuck. And that was where we were for like 3 years. And I'm looking at that comp plan and I'm trying to figure this out. Nobody was teaching business, and I just didn't know. So 2012, we went to convention in Utah, and we went as a family this time. And I don't remember I think maybe the theme was believe. I can't remember for sure. But I remember sitting there, and God told me again, he spoke to me and said, it's time for you to do this. And so because my husband was there, we went back to our room, and we talked about, I think I'm supposed to do this. I don't know what that means. I don't know what this will look like, but I feel like I'm supposed to, like God's saying it's time. And Kirk said, okay, you can do this. And remember, his name is on the account. My name is nowhere near, nothing about me on this account. So he said, yes, let's do this. My children were there, so we went out. We gathered the girls together and said, Mommy's going to build this business. And, if somebody wants me to do a class, I'm going to go. I don't know how often that'll be. You can come with me. You can stay home with Daddy, whatever you want to do. And when we get to, different ranks, we'll celebrate. And the big thing that I remember, I don't remember what it was to be silver, but I remember we said when we hit gold, we'll get a 4-wheeler. Because we were just we had just been on our where we are now for a couple of years, and we wanted to get a 4-wheeler, but we couldn't afford it. You know, we looked good on the outside, but we couldn't afford that. So that was like our big goal. So Sonia and I told her that I was gonna, you know, I wanted to do this. She was also feeling like she was ready to build purposefully. And so we spent about 3 months learning. Shannon Hudson back then was doing, every 3 months she would have big weekend retreats or weekend conferences. And I had wanted to go for at least twice, but I couldn't afford the plane ticket and the hotel and stuff. And so I told Sonia, I remember talking to her about it and saying, you know, I really think we need to go to Michigan and see what Shannon's doing. And she said, okay, let's go. And then I had to very humbly say, but I can't afford the ticket. And she wisely said, I'll pay for it. You know, I'll pay for you to go. And, you know, that was a hard time. You know, it was hard to say, I can't do this. I can't, you know, to admit that we were financially strapped. And I know that, again, many, many people, probably even on this call, feel that financial strap. So we went to Shannon's business seminar, weekend seminar. We're blessed, incredibly learned a ton. I came home and Sonia scheduled her first business meeting that I went to and that Skyla came to. And I think she had maybe a dozen people in her living room, and we kind of shared what we'd learned at Shannon's event. And I think it was around that time also that we started our weekly classes at the Green Grounds Cafe at the time. And so we were doing, you know, classes every week. I was doing a little bit of travel, our classes back then too. I want you guys to know, it was like 1 to 6 people would show up. It wasn't huge classes like as many of you have experienced. It was, you know, a couple people, and we were thrilled when a couple new people would show up because we had new people to talk to, and we could bless them and could share with them. And we had lots of brochures. We were not duplicatable at all. We had Sonia always had lots of brochures and lots of good stuff to hand out, and, you know, we're giving samples away, and you know, that's just what we thought we were supposed to do. And then in November, Skyla came along and said, this is fun and easy, and I think I'm going to fill my calendar. Any open night I have, I'm going to book a class. And I am not normally a super competitive person in my adult life, but I thought, well, if she's booking classes, I'm not letting her get ahead of me. You know, she's not going silver before I am. And actually, after that first class, that she had such success, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. If she can do this, I'm doing this, because I'm going to hit silver before Skyla does. And it was kind of a race. I mean, it really pushed me to move and to share. And so she'd get, you know, post on Facebook, hey, I'm free, like, come over to my house. And I'm like, oh, I can't have people at my house because Kirk, you know, we live in the country and Kirk didn't want people here. Okay, I got to call somebody. Let's have a class, or do you want me to come, or whatever? So my schedule was full. I was doing probably 3 to 5 classes a week back then, and that was in 2012, that fall. And I drove lots and lots of miles. And I remember in December of that year, I worked on weekends too. Okay, so I worked Saturday, Sunday, noon to midnight, or 11 to 11. I can't remember that. 11 to 11. And I remember telling my coworker that by next December, I'm going to be done. And she looked at me. She was very supportive of me and very loving to me. And she looked at me, she said, you probably will. I believe that you will make it by next year. You will be done here. And that was very affirming, you know. So I surrounded and I shared my goals with people who would affirm me and who would build me up and encourage me, and not the people that say, you can't do that. So be careful who you're sharing your goals with. I don't care. So January of 2013, the comp plan changed. And, but also my boss on my 15th year anniversary at the hospital came and said I was no longer qualified to do the job I had been doing for about 8 years because I didn't have the right letters behind my name. So I didn't have my master's degree, basically. And so the comp plan changed. We hit silver that month because we were structured. And with my job, I didn't have any warning, and I didn't have any options. You know, they said, you're going to move back to what you were doing before, and that's just how it is, basically. And so okay, because we weren't financially in a place where I can say anything different. It took 6 months before that happened. And one of the things I learned then is that it doesn't matter how good you are at your job or what you do. It's really more about what the company needs and what serves them, you know. And I had fooled myself for a really long time thinking I'm a really good employee and I'm the best one in my department, which I was, and I'm the one that got things done. But that didn't matter because I didn't have the right letters, right, behind my name. And so so we hit silver in January. I was busting it. I was doing classes a lot still, and it was just kind of my schedule. And you guys, it sounds like a lot, and I will. Well, it sounds like a lot, but it didn't feel like I was that busy. Okay, I homeschooled during the day. I did classes at night, sometimes driving a couple hours to the class, doing the class. The girls would go with me oftentimes. And then, I worked weekends. And that was just my life. And busy people will get things done, okay? If the dream is big enough, it doesn't matter what comes up. It doesn't matter, what challenges, or it doesn't matter what people say. I had some other leaders, even locally, challenge me and say, when are you going to slow down? And why are you working so hard? And what are you missing? Think about what you're missing in your children's lives. But I remember, to counter that, when were my children's activities? They were on the weekends, okay? And I was working every single weekend. So I would have to make huge arrangements to take off work, to race across town to my kids' play at church and watch it. And then as soon as it's over, I can't celebrate with them. I have to race back to work. So I was missing those events anyways, but that was societally normal and okay. But the fact that I was going out and building our business and building a plan B for us was like really put down. And I was critiqued hard, but that I used that instead of discouraging me, I used it to motivate me to do this, okay, and to get it done. Because I knew if I worked hard, if I sacrificed TV time, and Kirk and I didn't see each other, and that was a sacrifice. I wish I would change now, but I knew if I did it for a year or for a couple of years, that I could have a life like nobody else, and that's what we've had, okay, and what we've developed. So we hit gold in May of 2013. So silver in January, gold May. We went to convention in June. I was also pregnant at the time that we went to convention and lost the baby on the way home. And that was a really traumatic time for me. My boss had called me the week before I left for convention and said, hey, we've got money now that you can move. And so you're going to come back and work in this other department. So I lose the baby on the way home. A day before I'm supposed to start, I was hormonal, okay, very hormonal. You can imagine. The day before I was supposed to go to work, they called me and said, I don't know why you think you're working these hours, because that doesn't work for us. So you can't work the hours that you've been expecting to work. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you can imagine my hormones are crazy, and I was not a happy camper. And I called, I was angry. I was so angry. I called HR. I called my new boss. I called my current boss, and they ended up giving me the weekend off with pay while we figured out what we're going to do. Because I told my new boss that, you know what, I'll do that for 3 months and then I'm done. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to upset my life on a long-term basis, because I don't have to do that. And he was really surprised and said, what do you mean? You're going to look for another job? What are you going to do? And I said, no. I have a plan B. I have a way out. I've developed another business. I've built this business. I'm just paying bills. I don't need to work. I don't need to disrupt my life. And you guys, if I had not done the work and built and been consistent, I never would have been able to say that to them. Okay. So they actually created a job for me as a pilot program and it lasted 4 months instead of 3. So I didn't quite make it as soon as I thought. But it was totally worth it, and to stand up for myself and my family. So July of 2013, we lost gold. I was working hard. I think I was home that month, maybe 2 nights, because between work and doing classes. And I was watching my OGV go backwards, and I was frustrated. Back then we had many just phone calls that we could listen to, and I remember listening to a phone call with somebody who was talking about how hard she was working. She was a platinum, and she was working so hard She lived so far away from town. It took her like 20 minutes or 30 minutes to get to town. And she would stay up working late, oh gosh, she would work so late at night until like midnight or 1 o'clock. And she was so busy. And I'm driving all over Iowa. And I think I was probably even coming back from a no-show, like a 2-hour no-show. And she was platinum, and I was losing rank as a gold at that month. And I was frustrated, and I was mad, and I was like, why is this not working? And I wanted to quit. I was ready to just throw in the towel. And so instead of calling my girlfriends who would commiserate with me and say, yeah, you're working too hard and you probably should slow down, I called Sonia. And or maybe she called me, I can't remember, but I talked to her, and I expressed all my frustration to her, right? She's my upline, so I'm going up. And she said to me at that time, Britta, the work you do today and what you're doing right now, you will be paid on in 90 days. So just hold on. You'll see the benefits. You will reap the rewards in 90 days. And I remember saying to her, it better, because if it doesn't, I'm out of here, because this is not fun right now. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this for 90 more days. That's all I would commit to at that point. And so Sonia, actually, I don't know if it's because of that call or not, we regained gold in August. And, in part because of what I was doing in July. So even though we were going backwards, we regained it. She invited me to Ecuador. It's first time out of the country. And Ecuador, it was her gold trip or platinum trip maybe, because I think she was platinum then. And Ecuador was really the first time that I met other leaders and saw myself as a leader. Okay, that I wasn't just Sonia's partner or Sonia's lackey for but people accepted me as a leader at that point. And they did it Silver Club too, which I think I went to in August. But then it was a whole different dynamic. These are other silvers and golds and platinums. And they really looked at me as, you have skills and you have leadership. And so I think that, again, that's so valuable that we surround ourselves with people who can encourage us and that can build us up and point out those things that we often will miss, because we live you live in your head. And we need other people and other influences to encourage us to do that. So I did quit my job in October. And on vacation, I realized that I was tired because, all of a sudden I could breathe and I could relax and rest. And so again, busy people will get things done. I've never been as structured as I was during that year that I was working so hard and working so consistently. So spring of 2014, I think I started business meetings because I realized that my team needed culture and they needed connection. And so I was platinum at the time, but I really felt like that was a need for my team. And so we started, I started pouring into them. I think that's when I started my Facebook page. I know I did not start a Facebook page prior to platinum. So everybody who wants to, I got to start a Facebook page and I've got my 6 people on it and I'm going to copy and paste what's on the other pages. If I could just encourage you to post on your leaders page first and be a leader on that page. Let people on your team as well as other crossline see you as a leader and as a resource, and that's going to give you so much more credibility than starting your own page with your 6 friends. Okay, and if you have a page, that's fine. I'm not trying to bash that, but we overwhelm people, I think, with pages, and we got to keep it really, really simple. And then in September of 2014, we hit diamond, and my husband retired or came home from his job, so he no longer works at the prison where he was actually working, was the prison. So that's our story, okay? And that's all the nitty gritty stuff in there. It hasn't always been easy. Even now, it's easy to look at people and to see that, they have it all together. And I'll tell you, we don't. And I showed the people beforehand the wall, but I didn't show them my desk because my desk is like a mess. And the rest of my office, I keep it very, very close to this is what you can see because it's semi cleaned up. Okay, so you don't get to see everything else because I'm kind of a mess sometimes, or a lot of times. So, but I wanted to share a few things that I learned on this journey, okay, and that you can hopefully will help you. Tips to go diamond. Okay, first one, consistency is key. You have to, if you're going to do this, you have to commit to doing it. Okay, and I love Vicki Author has this new book out called Essential Sharing. And she gives this example, and I love this example because I think you're going to be able to relate to this. She says, imagine you wanted to start a restaurant. You have a passion for cooking and the culinary arts. You find your location, you put up signs, and you have phenomenal food and right decor, okay? However, you decide that you're only going to be open every now and then. Maybe a Friday night here or a Monday there. Maybe for lunch, maybe for dinner when it feels like, when you feel like it. Would you be successful doing it that way? No, you'd be closed within, a couple months, maybe, depending on what your payroll is or your income is. There's no way you would make it. And then I'm reading this book called The Miracle Morning for Network Marketers by Hal Elrod and Pat Petrini. And here's the other part of this and with consistency, I really want you to think about. He's talking about his mentor was Bob. And when people had called to say, to business build with them, Bob would say, do you have your calendar with you? And so then he'd say, I want you to count up how many appointments you have on your calendar related to your business next week. And you guys think about that for yourselves. Count up on your calendar. How many actual business appointments for Young Living do I have on my calendar next week? And Pat says you could feel their pain as the answer came out of their mouth. 0, 1, maybe I've got 2. And then Bob would continue. Let me ask you this. If you were a dentist and you had 0 or 2 appointments on your calendar for next week, how long would you think you're going to stay in business? Or if you own a hair salon and you opened your calendar to next week and had 0 appointments on your calendar, how long would that salon stay in business? And yet we're going to turn around and gripe about network marketing or Young Living and say this doesn't work when it starts right here, right? And it's me being consistent and doing what I need to do and sharing, whether that's one-on-one or following up with somebody or doing a class or whatever. If you're not going to do that, you can't say network marketing doesn't work. You don't work, okay? And you're not working your business. You're not treating it as a business. You're treating it as a hobby. So I think those 2 examples are so huge and so relatable that I hope that you really will think about the consistency. And just, if you want to do 1 a week, just do 1 a week, but do it every week, okay? Be consistent at it. Whatever it is that fits for you and your schedule, just do it and do it consistently, okay? Number 2, find a buddy. It provides encouragement. I look back at my relationship with Sonia when we were really building, and she was such a huge support for me that I don't know if I could have done this without her, because when I was down, I could call her and I could vent to her and, we would work through it and she would encourage me. And when she was down, she could, we talked through that and we brainstormed together and it was more fun. So it provides encouragement for your hard days, accountability when you're tired. And it's just fun to work with people that have similar goals as you, okay? I would really encourage you, ideally, find somebody cross-line from you, somebody that doesn't have a financial interest in your business, because sometimes we'll take their input more than we'll take somebody up or down, upline or downline from us, because, we can see that they might tell us the same thing, but they're telling it because they love us and not because they want to, make us do something so they make more money. It also provides accountability to not procrastinate, okay? I was listening to a video by Marissa Peer. She's a psychologist out of England, and she said procrastination is really just your fear that if you're successful, you won't be any happier once it's done than you are right now. And I thought, wow, that's really true. The things I procrastinate, it's, why am I not building? Why am I not going out and meeting new people or whatever it is? What am I afraid of? Am I afraid that I'm not going to be any happier when you hit diamond, or when you hit, whatever your next rank is or whatever your goal is? So we have to overcome that. Okay. Number 3, get family involved. Do date nights, take your kids with you to your classes, teach them how to act in public and in a group, have them help you. Take your husband or your spouse with you and do a date night and then a class with it, and make it part of your family life and culture. And so make it everybody's business. It's our family business. This is not Britta's business. This is the Dimler family business. And my kids, I tell you what, Kelby, when she's almost 12, And she signed up more people and has talked to more people, I think, when she was 7 and 8 than most adults I know. I mean, she had no fear. She can tell you all about the oils. She can tell you what they do. And I remember we were at a conference and I think she had the desk clerk lady signed up because she was like, Kelby just kept taking her samples and telling her what to do with them. And it was fascinating to watch. It also teaches kids responsibility, and it lets them see you working for your goals, and it lets them feel a part of that. Okay. And I think that is huge that, we include them in this so that they don't resent us or resent the business. Because, we don't want to build and be really successful and not have our family with us. Number 4, people crave community and passion. And I know several people have joined my team and probably your teams just because they want to be around you or around me. And they keep coming to classes because they like what they hear. They like the positive culture that we have, and they enjoy being around us. They find value in this. The world is mean and nasty sometimes. And so if you show them that you have passion about your business and about these this Young Living products, and that you're having fun, it's going to draw people to you. Everybody wants to belong and be part of something that offers hope to them and others. And I really think that, it comes down to pretty much everybody wants that. Recognition goes a long way. So in that, recognize the people that show up every week, or recognize the people that are building. And even if, hey, you shared and you enrolled somebody, or you did your first class, or whatever that may be. Danny Johnson says, weigh your ego with your bank account. Okay. And I wanted to say this in this part because I think sometimes our ego gets in the way and we think, I'm the only resource for my downline. They should only come to me for all their questions, and they should never go to somebody crossline, or they should never go to, somebody above me or whatever. And I think that's going to stop you from growing. If you squash your team, or you're a member who resonates with somebody else, and you squash that out of fear that they may, they might get cross-recruited, or they may like that person better, or whatever, you're stopping your own growth. Okay, so I would really encourage you to weigh your ego with your bank account, let them go to, talk to somebody else, and to help to get that other input. Okay, because it's just like with our spouse. Kirk has told me so many things and it's great information, but I don't hear it. But then, Skylar could tell me something, and I'm like, I'll come home and say, did you know, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I've been telling you that for 3 years. I'm not ready to hear it from my husband. So maybe your person downline is not ready to hear it from you, but they can hear it from somebody crossline, or they can hear it from somebody unrelated to you, That said, I don't just say to my people, hey, why don't you go check out this training without me first checking it out, okay? Because I want to make sure that what's being taught, first of all, aligns with my culture of my team, but also is true and faith and honest and trustworthy, and that the people have integrity that's teaching it. Okay, so don't just say, oh yeah, just anything that says Young Living, go for it. Not everything is true and trustworthy, even if it says Young Living. So you need to be the one that vets the material first, and then pass it on to your people. Number 5, hopefully you know this, don't be the expert. You are not the keeper of all the knowledge. You do not need to be the only resource that people come to. And I don't know is a great answer. And I still, after 10 years, use that more than I tell people how to find, what to do for their dilemma. Sending them links, showing them how to look things up, equipping and empowering them to do their own research. So they're responsible for their own health, and they don't come to you every time. Okay. Number 6, leadership books can be fun. In my mind, I always think that leadership books are long and drawn out and boring, and it's just facts. And I don't like nonfiction books. It's like, oh, I have to read this book. But did you know there's a whole line of books that are novels that have leadership skills involved? I mean, like, I knew this 20 years ago, but I never found them. And so in the last probably 2 years, I've found like John Gordon and Ken Blanchard and Spencer Johnson and Chris Widmer. I just found he wrote a book on influence. I love it. I'm listening to it on audio. I'm like, I thought it was going to be a boring book but I'll listen to him on audio. It's a story. I'm like, oh, I love the story. So people want stories. right? We love stories. We share stories, and it's so much easier sometimes to hear those leadership concepts in a story form. So if you love the nonfiction, you know, Zig Ziglar or John Maxwell or whatever, you love that stuff, read that. But we can't assume everybody's going to love the same book, right? So share with them other authors that are wonderful and that resonate with you. Okay. Danny, my girlfriend Danny Phillips, she loves those long, drawn out, boring, factual textbooks that I'm like, oh, put me to sleep. So if I gave her a novel, she's going to be like, oh, I hate this. So we all resonate differently. Respect that, encourage that, and build them up. Okay. So I will send her a textbook versus hopefully somebody would send me a novel. Here's number 7. This is a big one. We talk a lot about duplication. And Vicki Offer says duplication is people sharing with people without us, okay? And that's our goal, is to duplicate. But Eric Walton, who does Downline Leadership, I heard him say once, you know what? Duplication is a great concept, but do you really want 1,000 Brittas running around? And I'm like, no. So we want people to share with others without us, but I want you to replicate what I'm doing in your own way. Okay, so systems are great, but if I said, this is the welcome packet that I send and you all must send the same welcome packet, some people might be like, I hate this welcome packet. This is the worst thing ever. It's boring, or it's too expensive or whatever, and then they won't send it at all. So if instead I said, okay, we want to send a welcome packet out to our new members. We want to encourage them and thank them for joining us. Here's some ideas you could include in it. Feel free to add whatever you would like. I've just now replicated it, and they get to put their own spin on it. Does that make sense? So I think that is key, that we can't expect everybody to do it our way. And if I demand that they do it my way, I'm losing out on probably at least half of my team. Okay, so let them put their own style on it. It must be authentic to them. They'll never be me. You all will never be me. I will never be Skyla. I love Skyla, and she is amazing to watch on stage and in a class because she is so uplifting and energetic, and she's always going and she's always smiling. But I'll tell you what, I try to be her for 5 minutes and I'm tired and I'm done and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. It's not who I am. So if I stood up and I was like, hey, this is so great, this is so fun, and we're going to have a blast. And, after I said that the 5th time, you guys would be like, okay, she doesn't even know what she's talking about and she is not being authentic. You would know that, okay? Because it's not who I am. So I can compare myself, and I say that out of love to you, Skyla, but I could always be comparing myself to her, but instead, why not embrace who I am? I'm not a Blue. That's not my dominant personality. I can put on Blue for a little while. I can play that role for a little while, but to me, that's acting, okay? Because it's not my style. But I'll tell you what, if you had a problem, I would hope that you'd come to me and I will help you take care of it, because I am yellow, true and true. And that's my much more my comfort level, is to be yellow and to love on people and to encourage them in that way. Okay, number 8, skills can be taught. You can go to seminars, you can do personal development books and tapes. You always need to have a heart to learn, but you have to apply it and not just leave it as head knowledge. Okay. So many of us spend our time and our money going to seminars and learning different things, but we never apply it. We never share it with anybody else. We never put it into practice. And so it's all right here. It's not going to do you or anybody else any good. Okay, so if you read a new book that you love and that resonates with you, tell people about it, pass it on, do something with it, put it into practice. Number 9, character matters. Okay, so skills can be taught, but character is, we don't go to trainings on how to build your character necessarily, but character is more important than skills for leaders. This Chris Widmer book I'm listening to, it's on influence. The Art of Influence, maybe, is what it's called. The billionaire person has the seeker, basically. He says, write down 10 qualities of a leader. And if I had time to have you guys all write down 10 qualities of a leader, and I would encourage you to do that. Okay, so if you did that, though, after you write them down, and your characters might be honest, trustworthy, encouraging, they have integrity, they're authentic, they're grateful, they're good speakers, they are good communicators, they might be have a positive attitude or be a good listener. Okay, out of all those things, there was like 2 or 3 that were skills that we teach and that we focus on teaching, and the rest of those are character traits. But the character trait is what draws people to you. Okay, if you don't have integrity, people are going to see through that. If you're not authentic, people are going to see through that. Now, that said, if you have been walking without integrity, or you haven't, maybe you've done some things that you think, oh gosh, I wish I could go back and change that. And I'm so sorry, I feel so bad that somebody knows this about me, and, or that I acted that way, whatever it is. You can't change the past, but you can change what you do right now. And you can change your character, and you can decide to do something different and to act with integrity. He talked about, let me find this because this was really good too. To attract people of vision, you have to have vision. You have to be a person of vision. To attract passionate people, you have to have passion and show that passion. To attract fair, honest, and positive people, guess what? You have to be fair, honest, and positive, right? That's a whole law of attraction. And when we do that, people will be drawn to you, and it will change your life. What you appreciate, appreciates. Okay, so live a life of gratitude. And then the last one is mindset is key. And I love, so this Miracle Morning, I'm going to read you a couple of things from here. He says, although where you are is the result of who you were, okay, so our past has created who we are. Where you go depends entirely on who you choose to be from this moment forward. And I love that, because so many of us get so stuck in our past and think that, I can't be any better because this is how I was raised, or this is what I've done in the past, or, if people really knew me, they would judge me, or whatever. We can choose to live that way, or you can choose to change your mindset and to realize that I can move forward and I can change who I am today, starting today. You can choose to see yourself better than you've ever been before. And you can create affirmations that reinforce what's possible for you and remind you of who you're committed to becoming. Hal Elrod says, let me read this to you real quick. The moment you take 100% responsibility for everything in your life is the same moment you claim the power to change anything in your life. But you must understand that responsibility is not the same thing as blame. Blame determines who is at fault for something. Responsibility determines who is committed to improving a situation. It rarely matters who is at fault. What matters is that you are committed to improving your situation. The psychological shift you can take is take ownership and stewardship over all of your decisions, actions, and outcomes starting right now. You make the calls, you do the follow-up, you decide the outcomes you want, and you get them. Your results are 100% your responsibility. Okay, it's not your upline, it's not your downline, it's not anybody crossline, anybody else. It's you. The reality is you can't change what's in the past, but the good news is you can change everything else. You are in the position of power, you are in control, and there are no limits to what you can accomplish. And I love just that part. When we talk a lot about conscious language and we talk a lot about mindset, but we never really talk about, I can make that change. I can make a choice right now and do something different. We need to set affirmations. And Sonia does a great talk on conscious language and of speaking out what we want. In this Miracle Morning book, he talks about, though, that we need to not just say, so let's say my conscious language is money flows to me, right? And so money comes, it just flows to me. Your conscious mind will challenge that still. So you can say that, but your mind and your head is like, yeah, it's not coming. And I remember Sonia calling me saying, we talk on the way home from my work, and she'd be like, yeah, our phones are just ringing off the hook, and we've got these business builders coming out of the woodwork, and they're, it's so exciting. And I'm like, my phone's not ringing. Did somebody call you today? And I would ask her this, did somebody call you today? Who called you? Because my phone didn't ring. I didn't get any of those phone calls. And she's like, Britta, we're conscious languaging. I'm like, oh, okay. I can play this game, right? I can do this. I got it. But it was always, there was something in my head, though, still that was like, yeah, and I get it, and I can say that, but it's still not happening in my life, right? Because I'm up here. So in this book, they're talking about, instead of just saying, money will flow to me, write down specific extraordinary results or outcomes that you are ready to commit to creating. Okay, so it's not going to just happen, it's not going to just flow, but I'm ready to commit to creating this outcome. Reinforce it by including your why, so what benefit you get to experience. So instead of saying money flows to me, you can say, I am committed to doubling my income in the next 12 months from blank amount, so from $1,000 to $2,000, say, so I can provide financial security for my family. And you know what, if you say that like, I'm committed to, doubling my income, it's not going to be very passionate. But if you say, I am committed to doubling my income, from $1,000 to $2,000 in the next 12 months, so I can provide financial security for my family, that gives your brain's like, yes, I want this, and this is possible, and I can do this. And that is going to change how you think and how you act. The other part of this is to clarify the specific action, activity, or habit that's required for you to achieve your ideal outcome, and clearly state when and how often you will execute the necessary action. So the example he gave is, to guarantee that I double my income, I am committed to doubling my daily prospecting calls from 2 or 10 or whatever to, what's the double of that? And I'm going to do it 5 days a week from 8 in the morning until 9 o'clock in the morning, no matter what. Okay, so I have now just committed. I've written it down. I'm saying that every day. And you guys, that kind of stuff will change your life. And it's going to be much more, it's going to be specific, and it's going to be, if I don't do my 10, let's say I'm going to double it to 10 prospecting calls, or to 10 contacts a day. If I don't do that, who's to blame? Who's responsible for that? Right here, right? I'm not saying, well, my kids interrupted me, and the dog, the dog ran away, and blah, blah, blah. I didn't do it. So the buck stops here. And if I want to change, and if I truly want, if my goal and my desire and my why is big enough, I'm going to do it no matter what. When I was building, there were many days I was like, I'm tired. I don't really want to drive 3 hours to go to a class and teach another basics class. You know how many basics classes I've taught in the last 5 years? But you know what? I did it anyways, because leaders show up and they do it anyways. Even if we don't pay attention to our feelings. Let me rephrase that. We don't use our feelings as excuses. Okay, and there were some days I would drive those 2 hours, and I would be, I'm tired, and I don't want to do this. And they probably won't have anybody even show up, and one person would be there. And initially, I'm like, oh, there's only one person here. But I'll tell you what, that class oftentimes it just blessed me incredibly, and it allowed me to have a relationship with the person that hosted the class, as well as the new person. And I developed some relationships I developed because of driving those miles, and because of showing up, even for 1 or 2 people, are relationships that will impact my life and my family forever. Okay, and that they are some of the most important relationships I have. So we all have excuses. We all have reasons not to show up. I want to know, what's your reason to show up? And what's it going to take for you to do that? For you to do it consistently, with passion, and with that, what's your desire and drive? And whatever that is, share it with your upline and let them hold you accountable to it. Okay? Because if we don't do it today, it's going to be easy not to do it tomorrow too. So that was a whole lot of information, and I went way over, sorry.
You're perfect, Britta. That was amazing. I was writing quickly here.
I wrote notes, that's why.
I love it. I love it. That was spectacular. Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna first wrap this up, and I'm gonna say thank you, Britta. And thank you to everyone who is here. We are gonna have some time for Q&A, but before I end the recording, I just want to remind you that next week we will have a guest speaker named Jenny McMillan. She is a gold from Texas. I was just with her in Houston last weekend. She is a dear friend. She is also under Tom and Evangeline Reed. And Jenny is going to be teaching about the oils of ancient scripture and kind of an emotions connection. So you are really going to love this one. If that is a topic that you have been hoping to learn more about, that is next week. The following week, October 5th, we have Amanda Uribe, who is a Crown Diamond and the author of the Grow, Dig, and Harvest series. And I know that you will love her. She is an absolute eloquent writer. I have not been with her as frequently when she has been speaking, but I know that she's just as good, sharing in front of groups and that sort of thing. So that will be a great night. The following week, October 12th, we have our very own Sonia Swan teaching, and she has yet to share with me what her topic is. So hang on to your hats there. We've got a couple of weeks where you might actually hear from me. We'll see. But the one I want you to mark on your calendar that is brand new as of today, on November 2nd, we have Platinum Renee Yeo. And I have never met Renee in person, but I just learned some interesting things about her this week and said, you are so perfect for this group. So Renee is a platinum, almost diamond. The interesting thing about her is that she has 3 teenage children that are all building. So for those of you that are trying to figure out how to break into the college crowd or how to approach, teens in general, with what products do you lead with? Do you lead with the income opportunity? I'll tell you what, she and her family are living this out in a really, really remarkable way. So not only is Renee going to be with us, but also her kids. So you will be able to invite your prospects, invite your own kids if you have teenagers, and just get ready. So that's November 2nd, okay? And also, I'll just throw out there, if you guys have any topics that you are passionate about, or if you can recommend people that you think we should have as guest speakers on Thursday Night Live, shoot me a message because I would love to hear from you. Okay, so thanks for coming, everybody. We will see you next week.